Hello, this is Gary at Jack Raven Bushcraft. Thank you for watching our video. This week I'm going to talk a little bit about folding saws or pruning saws. So I always carry a saw in my bag with me. In fact, I'm a firm believer that the combination of a knife and a saw, you can do most things that you need to do in bushcraft. With that said, an axe is likely to speed things up a little bit. Nonetheless, you can do most of the things you need with that knife and saw combination. So there are loads and loads of different saws out there on the market. You can go down B&Q, Home Base, buy their own brand ones, Wilkinson Sword, all of these things. There are lots of them out there. I like these. They're from Baco, so I don't have any connection with them at all. They're not paying me to say this. It's just that I like these saws. For a number of reasons. So this locks in the closed position, so that's a good thing. I carry mine typically in the side pocket on my rucksack, and so if it didn't lock shut, you could there could be a circumstance where the blade comes open, you put your hand in to grab something and then cut yourself on it. So this blade locking closed is good. So you just kind of push that button, and it is also now locked in the open position. When it comes to safety, just in general terms, people often have this sort of inherent knowledge of knives being particularly or potentially hazardous, but maybe are less cautious when it comes to using a saw. Now, if you cut yourself, say just cut yourself on the hand there with a knife, typically a couple of steri strips, a few days later all is well. You just need to look at the blade on this thing to understand that if you cut yourself with this, the wound is going to be a very nasty, jagged wound indeed, and you're going to probably want to try to avoid that. So all of the things that you would put in place if you were using a knife, think exactly the same with the saw, because these are also potentially hazardous if used incorrectly. So what I'm going to look at now is just one very simple application for a folding saw, and that is just to cut a stick in half or so. Now I'm fortunate here, I've got a stump that I can use, and so I've got my piece of wood onto the stump, and I want to be sawing off the edge of it here. So if those were, say, a little bit closer and I just started to saw through, then what's going to happen is as the cut progresses, the stick is just kind of going to go in this shape. It's going to bend down and the saw is going to get stuck. So you need to be sawing off the edge of something. So I'm going to saw off the edge of this stump. You will notice there's a stick in the ground here. So I've just bashed this in a minute ago. This is acting as a guard. So I'm going to be sawing here. So I could be having my hand here, for instance, and then saw, and that stick is going to prevent the saw from moving across and potentially cutting me. So that's an important thing. And it's important because when you start using these saws, they jump. And what they do is jump towards your center of gravity. So what I've done here now, I'm standing on my right leg, I've got my left leg onto the piece of wood to hold it in position. If I put my thumb like this to get a line on it, there's a really good chance that I'm going to cut myself, because the saw is going to go this direction. And as I say, it's heading into here, basically, my center of balance, that point. So the saw is always going to jump that way, which means when you start your cut, you need to have your non-dominant hand out the way. So what I can do there is bring the saw backwards a few times. So this is cutting now on a pull. So the saw has come out there, so I'm just cutting like that. And so now I've got a bit of a groove in there that the saw blade is going to sit into. I'm happy that it's not going to jump out and it's not going to start moving across. So after having done those few little back pulls, so this kind of thing, just pulling the sword backwards, now I'm feeling comfortable to be able to just kind of go backwards and forwards. So I am, and I'm not really applying any great pressure here. I'm just going nice and easy with it. I want to let the saw do the work. And at the moment, what I'm doing is kind of just going up and down. Note that I am using the whole length of the saw blade. If all I do is this, just using the middle section of the saw, I'm going to be at it for quite some time. That is going to take me, yes, it's going to take me all day, in fact, to get through this. So by using the full length of the saw blade, it's much more effective, much more efficient. Now, if you have a stump that is a bit wobbly, if you start sawing horizontally like so, the stump is likely to start moving around. So if that is the case, if your stump is wobbly, saw downwards, because now the force is going, well, straight down, and so that is going to stop the movement on the stump. However, if your stump is stable, you can do a saw horizontally. Now, what I will often do is a few cuts going downwards, like so, and then a few cuts just going a little bit more across, like that, and then alternate it. So down, across, down, across. And what that does, it puts the saw into contact with less surface area on the wood, and so essentially it makes your cut easier. I don't know if you could pick that up on the mic, but there was a change in the noise being made there, and that change in noise is telling me that I'm nearly cut right the way through the piece of wood here. So at that point, what I'm going to do is take my left hand across my body, so there's a bit like woodland yoga going on here, and I could just hold on to that stick and just finish my cut there. So now, as soon as I've finished, first thing I want to do, just push the button, close the saw up so that the blade is now out the way. So hopefully, guys, that's something that you can take forward into your own bushcraft journeys, your own bushcraft adventures. I'm hoping to get some more content out next week with a bit of luck. In the meantime, if you haven't yet, then please subscribe to either our blog or our YouTube channel. In the meantime, take care, stay safe.